So we were talking about rounds of this moisture really sticking with us today, and believe it or not, we're set in for another round. Now look how low these clouds are staying well into the night and overnight. Now that's letting us know that these cloud ceilings are way down, and that's a lot of moisture making its way across the Concho Valley. So low it's bouncing the light off from the city. Now we're looking at that temperature change. I had to take a quick look at this one again because believe it or not, we held on to those 70s well into about 4 a.m. Then we dropped down into those 60s, letting us know that that cold air is here. That means those clouds are so dense, holding a lot of daytime heating overnight. Now we're tapering down into those 40s, and we're going to drop about a couple more degrees. Now when we warm up tomorrow, it's not going to be that drastic. It's going to be a much different picture when we look at this temperature change by tomorrow, even if we need to look at it because the change will be so minimal, it won't even be noticeable. So right now we're hanging out at 48 here in San Angelo. Everybody else joining us in a mixture of those lower 50s, upper 40s. Whew. And as we're looking outside right now at the temperature spread, seeing the cold air start to settle in. Now we're watching a lot of that moisture for another round to make its way into the area. Could drop us down even more, but we are looking off to the horizon for warmer temperatures and what could potentially be a colder plunge. Right now we're seeing 48 in Sterling City, 52 in Junction. That's a pretty impressive 7-degree spread, but even closer than earlier today where it was 10 degrees apart. Still seeing those clouds really push a lot of that moisture across the entire region, keeping it a little bit warmer. Now we're seeing the relative humidity indices stay really strong across the entire region, hanging out in those 80s and 90s. If you believe it or not, we're almost triple than where we were yesterday, if not the day before. And then we're looking at those dew points hanging out in those 40s. Now we're already at that point, and we're only going to cool down a couple more degrees as we start to see those AM hours. Again, we're holding on to those temperatures well into about 4 a.m. Right now we're looking at those colder temperatures really push across the Rocky Mountains, but they're still looking at those temperatures as we see that moisture really being pulled along those southern states, and we're going to continue to see that strong stationary boundary. In fact, follow the moisture, follow the temperatures, and you're going to see this more of this pulling motion of the moisture right along the Gulf Coast. That's where that stationary boundary is going to be. Now, if you remember last time, the air was so cold, it pushed all the way down to Florida, and everybody set record high low temperatures. If that makes sense, that means that they saw temperatures only in the 60s and 70s, setting a low record for them. We're going to see this troughing push over throughout the rest of the weekend. That's what's going to keep that on-off shower activity throughout the rest of the weekend, well into Monday. But we see that ridging push over by about the middle of the end of the week. That could push us into the 70s. Now off to the west, we're watching that cutoff low that could develop. That's a big pocket of cold air that could push in over the region as soon as it reaches the same equilibrium or the same level as the rest of the upper stream, which could push it into our region. That's the same setup we were looking at when we saw those freezing levels a couple weeks ago. Right now we're watching the moisture still be pulled off to the northeast. Still getting a good idea of that cold air. Look how distinguished it is between the two. That's snow along the Rocky Mountains, and once this storm starts to push in, it's going to take on a lot of the characteristics of that cold air. We're going to keep watching the second wave make its way over the Sierra Madres right now, and we're tracking a lot of these storms, seeing where the moisture is being dumped. As you can see, it's making long lines along that northwesterly flow. That's letting us know that those clouds and those upper level winds are still pretty fast, but down below, still some calm clouds. You did see an opposing wind structure the entire time we made our way through. This weekend, here comes that second round as it makes its way through, pushing through, and then we're going to see that on-off cloud cover by about the parade time, still dealing with that light rain. So we are going to see those slick conditions increase, as well as seeing a lot of those other puddles form around the Concho Valley. So again, we're dropping 4 more degrees than tomorrow, only up a little bit into those 60s, still holding on to that on-off rain shower activity. That's going to push well into your Veterans Day weekend, where we could continue to see these cooler temperatures in the 60s. But as we make our way towards that third week of November, we're already inside the 2-week mark for Thanksgiving. We're going to see those temperatures touch back up into the 70s.